What does it look like?
It looks like peace. It looks like not watching what you are saying all the time. It looks like your relationship not being a performance. It looks like rest. It looks like thank yous. It looks like gratitude.
Hello, my name is Gretchen Baskerville, and I'm the author of The Life-Saving Divorce, Hope for People Leaving Destructive Relationships. And I've been a divorce recovery leader, a Christian divorce recovery leader in churches for more than 20 years. Today, I am very excited to do my second interview with Sarah K. Ramsey. She is the host of the Toxic Person Proof podcast, which already has 150 episodes so far. She also has a blog, sarahkramsey.com, and she's an author. As I mentioned, I've interviewed her before on the topic of how to know if your spouse has really changed. And we also talked in our prior interview about the holiness over happiness myth. Sarah is a fireball and a total crack up. You will love her. She is so energetic. And one of the things she does is help divorced women move forward in life, embracing it with both hands. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you again.
It's so super that you freed up your time to do this. Let's just get right into the interview. Is it possible to be happy after a destructive, painful, miserable marriage and divorce?
So Gretchen, usually when on social media and stuff, there's like this conversation like, oh, it just looks so perfect. It looks so good to be true. It looks this. And I want to say my life is better than it looks like on social media. My husband and I are best friends. We giggle like schoolgirls. We sat outside on the porch, and I said, hey, my kids had some friends over. So it was a Sunday afternoon. We had a home full of kids. We went out on the front porch or the back porch. And I said, hey, do you promise I can keep you forever? And he goes, yeah, you can keep me forever. And then 30 minutes later, he said, this is just yesterday, 30 minutes later, he said, hey, well, since the girls are going over to the other house, do you want to just go to the grocery store with me? And somebody said, I think one of the kids said, well, why are you going to the grocery store with him? And I said, because I'm like his blankie. He likes to carry me around, and we went to the grocery store. And originally I'd said it was a World Market. So I said, hey, pick me up some earrings that you think I'd look pretty in. This is my real life yesterday.
Your real life involves
this is my
your husband
real life
wanting
yesterday.
to spend time with you, wanting to buy you fun things that you would like. And, this is awesome. And people don't realize that a lot of us who blog on this topic or speak on this topic, our lives are actually a whole lot better than we ever let on. What does it look like to be happy after divorce? Now, we want to set realistic expectations.
Sure. Mm-hmm. It looks like peace. It looks like not watching what you are saying all the time. It looks like your relationship not being a performance. It looks like rest. It looks like thank yous. It looks like gratitude on both ends. It looks like being the most peaceful place in each other's lives. And I remember my sister talking about her marriage, and she said, people make marriage so hard. It's just two people being nice to each other. And I remember her saying that, and I was so triggered and angry when she said it, because I thought, well, I've been nice in my marriage. Right. And if you're with someone who is making their own choices about who they are and how they love and how they connect, it can have nothing to do with how nice you are.
Right. If they're not capable of being nice, if they look at you and their first impulse is, I'm not going to be nice. It doesn't matter how nice you are. They just have an issue. They've got some character problem that they've chosen not to address. So,
and it can assume that if I'm doing something nice for you, there's a game attached to it. There's something negative. It's a manipulation of some type. And, now my husband, we had this little like love you note that we would hide at different places in the house. And so I put it by his tea, or he put it in my drawer, or he put it beside my toothbrush, or when I unfolded the bed, there was like, I love you. These are free, easy, low cost. No, I mean, it's just simple ways to say, you mean something to me. I'm grateful for you. I'm a safe space for you.
Okay, so I'm going to push back. We're going to have a
Sure.
little fun here.
Do it.
So a lot of people watching this saw the movie Fireproof and the book that goes with it, Love Dare, which is kind of like 40 days of doing one nice thing per day. And we're all sitting back there going, yeah, my ex could easily do 40 days of nice things, but I would know good and well it was just a show, just to put on, just temporary, and that he would revert back to the real him. What do you say about that?
Toxic people are amazing at image management and blame shifting. Okay, image management and blame shifting. So yes, they can do. When I was interviewing with Lundy Bancroft, and it was like, how do you know he changes? Well, he actually does. It is that simple. Like, we make it so complicated. But it's like, well, how do you know he's going to be less selfish? Because he does things that are selfless. Right. He does things that are to your advantage. He does things that make you look good, not things that make him look good for a certain period of time until you lower your defenses, and then the game begins again.
Yeah, that's so good. Yes, that if it's all about image, if it's all looking good rather than being good, looking nice rather than actually being nice. And like you said, if it's changed, it's just obvious. You don't have any second doubts about it. You aren't asking yourself, has he really changed? He actually really has.
It's undoubtable. If I completely change personalities, my friends and family would notice. It wouldn't have to be like, do you think they may say, do you think Sarah's changed, to see if someone noticed. But if all of a sudden I am very extroverted, obviously, say I'm all of a sudden very detail oriented, I'm way more structured, I have my ducks aligned rather than just like, hey, what's going on today? And I completely change personalities, not saying one's better or one's worse, but I completely change personalities. You're going to notice.
Right.
You're going to notice.
Yeah. What's going on with Sarah? She's completely a different person.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So, our churches, some of the people in your audience are, religious people of faith.
Oh, sure.
And we have gotten from the day we were born, the message that if you just pray harder, try harder, be more agreeable, be more sexually enthusiastic with your partner, that this will just be the positive influence that will automatically change them. And of course, we all know, those of us who've been through it, we know we've already done those kinds of things for literally, well, in a 20-year marriage, it'd be 7,000 days of doing all of those things. And we know it doesn't work. So why is it that our religious messages drive us so hard to keep that marriage at any cost, even if it's a marriage that is destroying us? It's a marriage that the deception and the betrayal and the addictions and the lying are making our home less holy, not more holy. Talk to me about how our houses of faith make our marriages into idols and even at the cost of our own lives.
So I have asked a lot of people this question, and I will let you guess what the answer is. Let's say I ask 100 people, if you know that a woman is allowing, in a situation, I won't say allowing, in a situation where her husband is physically abusive to her, but she sticks it out, does that make you want to come to church? Does that make you Does that make Jesus more attractive to you? If you know a woman's being financially abused and not doing anything about it, does that make the church more attractive to you? And you can guess what these answers are.
The answers
In the church, the assumption is if you cover over sin, then you are bringing people to Christ.
Yeah.
I have not met one person who ever said, you know what my testament story was? That woman was so good at putting up with abuse, and she just did it. She was in a horrible situation, and she was like a downgraded version of herself, but she just said, Jesus, others, herself, I have joy. And I just thought maybe I should become a Christian because she's so good at putting up with abuse. Not one conversion story I've ever heard with that message.
No.
Not one.
Not one.
But the church acts like there's 563 every day.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is not what this is saying to people. Instead, is that God is mean and as egotistical as this woman's husband, and that God is really just doesn't care how she's treated. I mean, it's really hard to love and trust and put your life into the hands of a God who doesn't stand up for the downtrodden, doesn't stand up for the vulnerable, doesn't release people from bondage, actually gets a kick out of having you in bondage and seeing you and your children be destroyed. So, I mean, what you just brought up is so powerful. This doesn't lead anyone to Christ.
No, and I'm quite certain that emotionally healthy pastors, maybe at the early pastor journey with savior complex, people might say, okay, if I say the right thing, everyone will come to Christ and be changed. Okay,
Right.
maybe at the early stages. But most pastors have enough sense, and they should, to not put the pressure on themselves to, if I preach the perfect sermon, everyone in my congregation is going to go to heaven. I personally am so above humanity. I am sitting at the right hand of God that if I say the right words, everyone's going to change. Most pastors would not say that.
Right.
But they tell the woman to be that.
Yes, that she is the one who must have that positive influence, that perfect life. And when we think about it, that completely flies in the face of the Gospels. No one could have lived a more perfect life than Jesus Christ himself. And yet the rich young ruler followed him, listened to him, wasn't converted at all, walked away. Jesus didn't go running after him, begging, but I can be nicer.
And Jesus, one, wasn't in the business of begging.
Mm-hmm.
And two, Jesus wasn't in the business of getting beaten up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
And we get this idea of 70 times 7, forgiveness 70 times 7. We get this idea of, turn the other cheek. But there were countless examples, as I know you're so good at pointing out, Gretchen, about Jesus fleeing toxic behavior and
Yes.
Jesus pointing out toxic behavior.
Well, what's so interesting, and I just realized this a couple of weeks ago, Jesus didn't put up with any toxic behavior until the time was ripe for him to lay down his life. Mm-hmm. So for the 3 years of his ministry, he never put up with toxic behavior. He fought back. He either walked away, or moved out of, or he fought back. He was vicious to his accusers and his attackers. He called them names. He called them whitewashed tombs, vipers, followers of Satan. My goodness, Jesus did not just roll over and play dead until the time came for him to do that. And he willingly laid down his life to be abused. But he did not lay down his life to be abused before that moment.
Not at all. And, I ask people that question about does it make you want to come to Christ? Does women getting abused make you want to follow Jesus? Obviously, no one said yes. I also asked adult children if they wish their parents had stayed married. And I was shocked at how many said no.
Right.
Because we get this idea in our head of like, you're breaking up the family, you're ruining things. We downplay the gift of a healthy step-parent. We downplay the gift of children having at least 50% peace in their life.
Yes.
right?
Yes,
We say,
50%
oh,
peace is better than
none.
24/7 of turmoil. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's the opportunity to say there is a different way.
Yeah.
Anger does not have to be the norm in your house.
Yeah.
Feeling like you're never good enough, walking on eggshells, you can have a different way, and you cannot show your kids that in that situation.
Yeah,
But the church never talks about that.
the church never talks about that. Nobody who holds that viewpoint ever wants to hear the stories about the children who are grateful that their parent left. And look at all the books written by children of narcissistic mothers or fathers who say, I wish my nurturing parent had left. I did a survey in my private group, the Life Saving Divorce, and 8 in 10 of these people said at least one or more of my children was glad I divorced, or at least saw divorce as being the best choice in a very destructive situation. 8 in 10. 1 in 10 said they'd never asked their kids, and another 1 in 10 said, no, I don't have any of my children who felt that divorce was the right decision. But 8 in 10, why aren't we talking about that more? Why aren't our churches aware of that? Why do they make it sound like that divorce destroys all children universally? And why do they make it sound like your children will hate you and resent you the rest of your life if you divorce? They're just completely out of touch. That's why, and they don't want people to know this. So, okay, like it gets us into our next question. What are some strategies to finding yourself after a divorce, after all these messages?
So I love that question came after what you just said, because I want to say, if you do not get yourself together after a divorce and your emotions are a mess and you don't get the healing you need, and you take him out, but you continue the version of yourself that is in turmoil, that is where my guess is that 2 out of 10 came from. In the 2 out of 10 that said they weren't happier or their children weren't happier. Okay. If you can be a better, upgraded, peaceful, happy, truly happy, authentic, stable, not perfect, but that stable version of yourself, then your kids are going to be thankful for it.
Yeah.
If you continue in the turmoil and he's just gone, but it's still turmoil, you're still in turmoil inside, your kids are still living in turmoil, that's probably, my guess is where the 2 out of 10 came from in that survey.
Yeah, I think that does account for a lot of it. And I think that's why we, as adults, we are in pain, just as our kids are in pain during a divorce. But we need to talk to girlfriends or therapists, not to our kids about it. There's one other place that the destruction comes from, and that is from these spouses, these exes, who ramp up the vitriol, the hatred, the court abuse, the parental alienation, the false accusations, the extortion, the bribery, and really go after us and threaten to destroy us. That is where a lot of the damage comes in these children's lives as well. So I think there's on one side, we need to get the therapy and talk to the coaches and the friends to protect the kids from seeing that conflict, from protecting the kids from seeing us in fear and anxiety and turmoil. So I think you're dead on right.
Well, those ramp up strategies are the norm of what I deal with. These, some of these strategies with some of these women, and it's just like, you mean he just left? And you just like started over? Like, that sounds like Cinderella's like happy ending to me. I'm just like, what? You just he just left? And they moved on and left you alone? Like, oh, I mean, it's like the angels had come down, and like, I just want to honestly, I'm going to be really honest and say it's almost triggering that God loved you so much. That's got to be your story. And I'll just be dead serious and just like honest with me. And it's like, wow, gosh, what a great story. He just left. Whoa, that's amazing. Like, you're so lucky. God loves you so much. And then like, God, I want No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, to be very honest, that emotional, that is like, what a blessing. What a blessing, blessing, blessing. Because the ramp up is what I help people through. Mm-hmm. That is the norm for me, and dealing with that and strategies to deal with that. And you have got to be so on point. There was a lady who is actually my next call after this. And she read in a parenting book that parents were supposed to be an anvil. Like, an anvil. Yes, okay. Like those, like Wile E. Coyote would drop this like metal block on people's head, right? It's heavy. It was solid. It was stable. Okay. So for my kids, I want to be solid. I want to be stable. I don't necessarily want to be heavy, but I do want to be rooted. So I want to be rooted in their lives. And so when the wind comes, when the turmoil comes, I remain. I stay steady. I stay rooted, because the storms are going to come. There's going to be lightning, and there's going to be anger, and there's going to be things I wish they didn't see, and things I don't want them to experience. And I have two choices. I can either be on a rocky boat too, or have that parenting brand, which you asked about a strategy. So developing a parenting brand of peace. I want to be the most peaceful place in my kid's life. Right. I did not give myself the option to be in a tumultuous relationship again.
You're talking about dating.
Dating. There was
dating. You don't want another tumultuous relationship.
For another tumultuous relationship with drama, with if it was, drama with the other person's child, drama in my kids. Like, there's no more drama in my kid's life that I can control. That is done. That is a piece of integrity to me. Okay. So if I can create, obviously nothing is perfect. There are problems. Okay. But if it's a constant up and down of drama and a constant back and forth, we're going to break up. That's going to be a no. We're not doing that to my kids, because then you have two houses of chaos. You divorced, you split their family, and there's two houses of chaos.
Right.
Versus your parenting brand of peace, which I want to be the most peaceful, steady place in my kid's life. When they walk through the door of my home, I want their nervous system to turn off. My little girl, we talk about her pressure valve. She's a real perfectionist and puts a lot of internal pressure on herself. And I'll joke and say, hey, where's your pressure valve? Let's turn it off. Is it in your belly? Let's turn your pressure valve off in your belly. You're home now. You're safe. There's nothing wrong here. There's no one yelling. There's no one mad at each other. There's nothing crazy happening here. Mommy's not sad. Mommy's not upset. I'm not perfect. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't want it to seem, but gosh, it really does feel like Leave It to Beaver. I mean, it really does. It is really lovely. And I am so grateful to give that gift to my children. I'm so grateful to give that gift to my children. And I went through a lot of hell to be able to give that to them.
Yeah, the relief, that peace. You're talking about making a new parent brand, and your parent brand being peace, relief, the ability to just sigh and realize I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm away from the crazy. I'm away from the mind games. I'm away from the deception. And I love how you brought up dating again, because when our guts start, that anxiety starts coming up again, that's a sign. No. Protect that peace, that hard-won peace, that hard-won safety, that hard-won relief. Don't give that up for anyone. I love how you talk about that.
And I really want to hold myself in integrity on that, and hold my kids in integrity on that, because it's so easy when I work with women in that process. It's so easy to like, well, I've been alone for a long time, so maybe I should lower my standards a little bit. Yeah. And I cannot speak for you, but I can think about my own choices and my own integrity. And I just looked my kids in the face and I said, I can't get this wrong. I can't get this wrong. I can't ignore red flags. I know better this time. I know better. I cannot get this wrong. They deserve me to get this right. And I think I did a pretty good job.
It sounds to me like your kids really love your new husband.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's super peaceful. I'll keep saying that word, but I know your listeners probably appreciate that. I can't even talk about my house and my life without that being the forefront. And it's just consistently kind. And my husband or my son, I asked him one time, not this is a true story. Now, I was telling you, Gretchen, a little bit about my son earlier. So he's very high functioning and thinks in terms. His dad was a pastor, his mom's a life, or his grandfather was a pastor. His mom's a life coach. So he thinks about in these really high terms. But I asked him, I said, what are you most sure of? And he said, you love me. I said, what are you second most sure of? And he said, you were happily married.
Wow.
I am telling you the truth. It was no setup. I didn't set him up for that question. But any guilt of divorce or think, did I make the right choice? Did I do right by my kids? Is gone. I mean, zero. I have none of that. None of that. I was told that if I got a divorce, my kids would turn out gay. I was told my kids would hate me. I was told I'd be poor. I was told I was personally whipping Jesus with a cat of nine tails if I went back on if I initiated a divorce. I was told I wasn't a Christian because I was willing to let the sun go down on my anger 15 minutes into first counseling session. 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Amazing. Shocking.
And then I looked contentious because I'm like, oh, okay. We want to argue scripture. Let's go. I've been reading the Bible for a long time. Let's go. You're going to try to throw scripture at me to control me? Let's go. Right. And then it was like, oh, look how contentious she is. Look, she's just got a bad attitude. No, I just didn't. There's grace and truth. And you're just like, grace, 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 grace. I'm like, but truth, truth, truth. I am not put on this earth to help other people become better sinners. That is not what God put me here to do. And if you want me to pretend that things aren't really happening that are, if you want me to pretend that someone is nice to me who isn't, or if you want me to pretend that things are okay to be happening in front of my kids or in the church or whatever, you're asking me to lie. You're asking me to be a liar. And now you're probably like, oh, I'm going to take this back and argue it to my church. Well, it's not going to work because I came across as incredibly contentious. I was telling the truth, right. But they did not have ears willing to hear. And I do tell people to try to avoid what I was of being the emotional expert, which means we come in with your book. We come in with my book. We come in with all our data to say, look, this is so wrong. And unfortunately, so many pastors, they just don't have ears willing to hear. They just can't hear you no matter what data you bring in, which is incredibly difficult. But Jesus dusted his own feet from his hometown.
Right.
For a very good reason.
Yep.
I highly recommend you do so as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, 6 in 10 of the people in my private Facebook group have either stayed at their home church or switched churches, but 4 in 10 cannot find a safe church. And that's because so many of our conservative churches have official policies right on their websites that say they don't allow divorce for abuse. And, obviously there's some pastors who are great pastors who will defy that, but there are a lot of pastors who don't have the guts to say, I will stand for you. I will support your desire to get away from a highly destructive situation where you're being driven into despair, depression, suicidal ideation, where you are being exposed to more domestic violence, and where you may even be in danger of being a homicide victim. Why is it our churches are too afraid to side with women who need to save their lives and sanity and that of their children? I understand why they don't, but sometimes we're going to have to divorce our dangerous and destructive ex and our dangerous and destructive pastor too.
Well, and Gretchen, I'm really obsessed with what problem we're trying to solve. And dissecting the problem, and you are hitting the what our churches should be doing so dead on, and I'm so grateful you're doing that. And I'm going to pretend I'm talking to the woman, and I'm going to say, you are in a relationship with Jesus by yourself.
Right.
You will stand before God, and you will answer to what you did for your kids, what you did for you, what you did. You're probably going to have to stand alone. And the Bible has countless stories about us having to stand alone. Where we get it messed up in our head is we thought we were going to stand alone against sin with our church. Right? We're like, I'm going to stand alone with my church. I'm going to stand alone with my people. I'm going to stand alone. We didn't think we were going to have to actually stand alone.
Yeah.
And should you have to? No. Can you fight your church and fight your ex and fight this and fight the patriarchy and fight whatever all at the same time? No,
you can't. It'll exhaust you.
Yeah, and you won't move forward. So that
just
is
walk away. Walk away is what you're saying. Just walk away. Pick your fights. Some people, you don't have the energy and the emotional strength to fight an ex in court and your church and your Bible study leader and his side of the family. Just cut off all the contact and walk away. That way you can conserve your strength.
Well, people like that and that version of me, we were like, I used to say if I was a superhero, it would like the PP on my chest, like people pleasing. Okay. And so what God is asking us to get a divorce from is people pleasing, to truly stand on our own faith and our own relationship with Him. And then we cover over people pleasing, like, well, yeah, but I need my pastor's permission. Oh, yeah, but I need my Bible study leader to be okay with it. Oh, yeah, but I need my family to be okay with it. Oh, yeah, but I need this person to be okay with it. We don't think about that as being people pleasing, but it is.
It is. Good point.
Right?
Good point.
It is. So if you're going to stand alone with Christ, as the Bible says for you to do, you don't need your pastor's approval.
Right.
I just... That's another form of people pleasing that we just get messed up in our heads, and it's very hard. And I am so sorry. Please don't hear me say, "Don't worry about your pastor," and not have an idea. I grew up, I was 30 years in the church that my dad was a pastor in. That there was a church split when I got a divorce.
Wow.
Let's talk about how painful that was. I am not in any way minimizing your pain. But I want to give you there's people who pat you on the back and people who pat you on the butt. And I am now a people who pat you on the butt. And anytime I now say this person should behave this way, the church should do this, my ex should do this. My husband was talking about that with his ex, and he said, she should have done this. And I was like, whenever I'm working with my clients and they say that someone else should do something, I tell them they're trying to solve the wrong problem, because the energy you're spending, and I'm not talking about you going after the church, because I'm so grateful people that are doing that. But from a personal standpoint, the church should do this is probably you needing permission from your church and you needing to take your own faith and be okay with your own faith and your own choices.
Yep.
And then not spending you could spend all your energy. I call that fighting gravity. You should do this. The court system should be this way. The school system should do this. This person should take care of you. This person should stand by you. Okay. And you can just stand outside and jump, jump, jump. Gravity's always going to
win. Gravity will always win.
Gravity will always win. And you, in gravity thinking things should be different than they are, will win.
Yeah.
Your thoughts will win. You will not win.
Right.
Yep. The church should do this and they're not. So what am I going to do about it?
Right. You can't fight City Hall. And, now it's your job, given the reality of the circumstance, how are you going to transform your home into that peaceful, relief-filled, safe, calm home that you need it to be. And I think I love all the advice you've given. How can people learn more about your message? Tell us about your upcoming podcasts or books, and then how can they contact you?
Awesome. So if you Google toxic person proof, as in bulletproof, but toxic person proof, you're going to see all things Sarah K. Ramsey. You're going to see my podcast, Toxic Person Proof, my book, Becoming Toxic Person Proof, which I joke, if Tina Fey's Bossy Pants and the sociopath next door had a baby, it would be my book.
I love it.
Because I talk about such hard things and I wanted it to, that Mary Poppins, a spoonful of sugar. So get ready to laugh and cry and become toxic person proof. You can also join my Facebook group, Finding Love and Success After a Toxic Relationship. Okay,
wonderful. That's great. And if they would like to reach out to you for coaching, how do they do that?
SarahKRamsey.com, and then contact Sarah. I work people through a 3-step process, reconnect with what's right with you. I believe in strength-based healing, taking other areas of strength. Maybe you're a great mother, maybe you're caring, maybe you're wonderful in the workplace, maybe you've created success in these other areas. How do we take what you're already good at and apply it to creating a new life for you? So first piece, reconnecting with what's right with you. Second piece, becoming toxic person proof, dealing with the toxic people in your current life and making sure you're not adding to the list in your future. And then designing a life you're excited about living. I do think, I hate to use the word revenge, but the best revenge, quote unquote, is a life well lived, is, moving forward in your future, having that brand of peace, feeling confident, feeling good about who you are as a mother, as a parent, as a person. And that's really what I want to see for women.
Thank you so much for this time, Sarah. You're always wonderful. I love your energy, and I look forward to interviewing you in the future. So we'll see you.
Thank you, Gretchen.
If you benefited from this recording, you will find support and clarity in my book, The Life-Saving Divorce, available in paperback or Kindle on Amazon, and in 2022 as an audiobook. You can also follow me, Gretchen Baskerville, on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. You can sign up for my email list at lifesavingdivorce.com. Women and men of faith may request to join my private Facebook group, Life-Saving Divorce. For more on life-saving divorces, please subscribe and click the link to the next recording.